All right, everybody. Well, welcome. Um, my name's David Pegler. I am a South African expat. I grew up in Pietermaritzburg, and I'm now based out of Savannah, Georgia. And I'm not a blockchain crypto expert. I am involved in a small family office. We have about 50 million AUM at the moment, and some of that does include some crypto exposure. And I'm more on the macro side. I also founded a company called Tier 1 Alpha, and we sell derivatives data to retail and institutional investors. We're involved on dealer delta hedging and different things, which is not applicable to this discussion, but that is my background. And my friend Ryan is one of the very earliest adopters of crypto that I know. And he is what I would consider an expert in particularly the NFT token, social token arena. And he works as what are you doing at the moment, Ryan? Sports psychology?
Performance psychology, but yeah, sports psychology is probably the best one, yeah.
And you guys probably know Jackie. She is our most talented writing human I've ever met, and Dr. Hilton, excuse me. And they'll introduce themselves as a go. So what I would suggest is we keep this relatively informal. If you have questions, just type them in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it. And interaction's better than none. So we kind of know you guys are around.
Again, my name is Ryan Ingalls. I'm stateside in America, out of Florida. And as I kind of share my screen here, I'm going to start with the kind of the image that everybody knows they have. And that tends to be like, it looks dark, it looks scary. And it's really not. And it's not the reason that I got into it. I think that the best way for you to kind of understand my motives and why I'm in this space and how it's evolved into digital art and collectibles is kind of figuring out who I am as a person. And like, you really don't care what I know until you know that I care. So when cryptocurrency came on my radar in 2017, it really piqued my interest because of the decentralized nature of the product. And we can get there in a second. But I'm not somebody that just says, okay, I'm just going to throw down cash, grab the asset, and be done. So what's in the middle picture is actually a computer specifically meant to mine cryptocurrency. And I'll get to what mining cryptocurrency means. Funny thing is, to kind of continue the trend, the picture on the right is a soundproof box because these things hum. They are what amounts to a supercomputer that is putting out a lot of heat and putting out a lot of noise because of the math equation that it's running. And that's why the very early in the slides is going to be environmental concerns, because I didn't even need to spend money to heat my apartment that winter. That thing cooked so big. But creating boxes to like house them, to just get invested in the space and figure out how it works. Big differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum. You're going to hear these two the most. They're the top two coins by market cap. My best analogy is Bitcoin is like gold. Like it's a store of value. You can make things out of gold, right? There's necklaces, there's gold flakes that you can put on food, right? There's chalices, there's bricks, like there's all these different things that are gold. But then Ethereum's more like gasoline. You can, in fact, use gasoline in a lot more versatile ways. It's still a store of asset. Like you have a drum of gasoline, I think or oil. I think it's sitting at what David would know. But it is an asset in a sense, but it's a much more utilized asset. And when we're talking about NFTs for this conversation, I'm going to be referring at length to ones that are on the Ethereum blockchain. We'll get to other blockchains in a second, but for all the questions and all the examples that I'm going to show you, we're speaking about Ethereum. So those environmental concerns right out the gate, anybody that hears that I'm in this on a daily basis, rightfully, is trying to protect the environment and is like, do you understand how much power you're using? Those two different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they currently both use what is called a proof of work metric. In short, how you mine cryptocurrency is you're trying to have a computer, like I showed you, solve a math equation that's between two people. So if I was trying to send a Bitcoin to David, I would utilize the network of computers that are out there. So everybody that's kind of agreed to be a part of this decentralized ledger network. Think about it in terms of like 10 of your friends have a notebook that are writing down, Ryan sent a Bitcoin to David. It's automated in the sense that no one needs to be a part of it. Like the computers run the math equation, and then whoever solves the math equation first, all the other ones at first and correctly, all the other ones validate it. So they run that same math equation. They're like, yep, that solved the math equation. And that's how the Bitcoin gets sent. That's how it started a long time ago. So people were able to run math equations on their home computers and mine numerous Bitcoins a day because the math equation was simple. Over the last, I think, 13 years, and this was on purpose, that math equation has gotten much more difficult. And the computing power to solve that math equation is what's generating the heat and the energy use to try to get that Bitcoin completion before anybody else, so that then everybody else in the network can validate it. There's so many computers trying to solve that equation now that there are what are called mining pools. So when I had that miner, I didn't run it myself trying to solve the equation because I never, ever would have solved it in enough time to get a Bitcoin. So I basically gave my computing power to a pool of computers, said, here, I own this miner. I'm giving you my computing power. Now, anybody in that mining pool that's together, whoever solves it, splits it amongst everybody else. But that doesn't solve the environmental concerns. I just want to explain a little bit about why the environment is affected by the amount of energy. What we're going to be going towards, and smarter blockchains are going to be doing this, is proof of stake. So you can see on the left, it's again, that proof of work. That's currently what Ethereum and Bitcoin use. Ethereum is going to go to a proof of stake model. So rather than having someone have a ton of beefy computers that, is using hydropower on top of creating all of this energy waste, that might not even keep the asset, that might just be in it for the money, right? Proof of stake is going to validate people that actually hold the asset. So you're going to need to be a part of the ecosystem to then have the award given to you. So again, this is being recorded, so you can kind of look at this. But the big idea is that I won't need to run a math equation anymore, which means I won't need to have, all that computing power. Which means I won't use the energy and I won't have so much electrical waste, and the environmental concerns will be much more moderate. Again, Ethereum is going to go to that by the end of the year, and we're going to talk about some other blockchains that are already using that, that are a much more approachable entry-level blockchain if you're looking to get into art and cryptocurrency in general. Okay. We got any hand raised so far? I went through 2 slides. Want to check? No, nope, all good.
Moment.
Okay.
Yeah, not at the moment. You do you.
Okay. So this idea of provenance, I think we've all seen the Netflix documentaries where world-class art has subjectively been misinterpreted as a real genuine piece of art, and then it's proved that it's not. There are specialists, there are ways to do it. I'm totally aware of that, and I'm not trying to take anything away from traditional art. The thing that I want people to understand about provenance and NFTs in this space is that it is immutable. It is undeniable in the sense that you can see what happened, who had it, how much they sold it for, when it happened, where it's stored. And so I'm going to bring over this, and I just want to perfect. So this is my basically collection of NFTs. All of these are NFTs that I own, but we won't go into that. What I'll show you is a piece of generative art that I myself minted. And so what that means is I went to this artist's website, I took my Ethereum, I put it into their smart contract. I basically said, I'd like to have a piece of your art. I hit go, and the algorithm for that NFT, that generative art, cranked this out. Basically, it's called Emergence, which is fractals emerging. So this artist is out of Brazil, which again, we'll get to the Geographic Diffusion, because I never would have met this person or bought any of their art if it wasn't for the internet. But what I wanted to show you about Provenance is you can see right here a year ago, I created this off of their contract and it went to me. Now, if we wanted to go to another one that just sold. So we'll look at this one that sold 3 days ago. You can see all of the purchase history and all of the transfers and all of the prices across that year. Now, OpenSea, which is what we're looking at, is a marketplace. There are multiple marketplaces out there. And what I want you to understand is Web3 and decentralized provenance means that you hold on to your assets. So in terms of like the bank, right? You do have a bank account and there's money in that bank account, but the bank has your money. Web3, in terms of custody and decentralized autonomy, your money is with you all the time. Your art is with you all the time. So even though I'm looking at this on a marketplace, these pieces are in my wallet that I have like on my person. To track and look this up, there's an ID, which we'll get to the onboarding part. But if you really wanted to look in the nitty gritty, this is called Etherscan. So this is basically the network of Ethereum that is immutable. No one controls this. It's decentralized. It's just a worldwide group of computers and people that have agreed to, like I said, validate these transactions. So you can see this transaction happened 3 days ago from one wallet to the other. Actually, I guess this one is not, because this one's mine, right? And what that allows for is it allows for it not to be faked. So people could, in essence, right? Because people are always like, well, what if they just copy it? People could copy this and then try to repost it. But because of the provenance, this little check mark is a validated collection on this marketplace. And so even if, let's just see if anybody's tried to actually make a fake one. So here you go. This is the real one, right? This is a fake one. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get somebody to think it's a real one and buy it. But because of the provenance, if you clicked on this and actually went to the Etherscan, the contract doesn't match up. And so you know it's a fake.
Ryan, there's two questions, just to interrupt you a moment. One about staking your ETH. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Mhm.
and the other one is about co-ownership of NFTs, tokens, etc.
And so say the second one again, David. I apologize.
The question is, would it be possible to co-own an NFT, multiple owners of one NFT with a share? In other words, a fractional ownership.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
okay. Votes.
Yep. Yep. First thing, so staking Ethereum on exchanges like Coinbase. So Coinbase is the biggest one in America. I think it's Binance is the biggest one worldwide. Staking means that you're basically putting your asset aside and will not spend it. Now, what that means is that obviously it's not liquid anymore. You can't move it. You can't do anything with it. There's normally a staking period where it's locked in. So right now, like if I wanted to stake my Ethereum on Coinbase and generate an annual return, it's a percentage, just like interest for your money in a bank. I could do that on Coinbase, and I think it's a 2-year stake. So I would have to put that Ethereum in for 2 years, and then I would generate a smaller amount of residual Ethereum return based off of when that 2 years is up, and then I can claim it, and then it's higher. Fractionalization completely exists. Let me just pull it up. So this is a digital art piece by a very well-known digital artist in the space. His name's Xcopy. This is a one of one, and these are very valuable currently in the market space because of who this artist is, how early they started their career, how novel their art is. So it current value, the implied evaluation of this piece is $750,000. I cannot afford $750,000 for one piece of art. But what I can afford is a fractional ownership of that piece of art. So I do have, I want to say 1,500 of this, and they call it 5e, but because it's 5 eyes, right? 1,500 of this, which amounts to a very small percentage, right? It's going to be under 2%, right? Under 1%. But it does allow you to get exposure to higher level pieces that probably are going to withstand like market fluctuations without having to have $750,000 on hand. It doesn't, and this is me as a collector, it doesn't feel the same. Like I do not have as much physical attack. Like I don't tell people I own this one, right? But I do have exposure to it. So if I believe in the market and I believe in the artist, it's a good way to get a piece of it. There are lower entry pieces, but obviously, as with everything in art, the lower the entry, the more the potential, the more additions.
Ryan, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yeah, for sure.
What gives, and I'm sure you're going to touch on it, but what gives that particular piece value? And I realize that art's a subjective thing, but I look at that and I think you'd have to pay me to do that.
So the first thing that I will say as the performance psychologist in here is belief is a hell of a thing, right? At face value, I can see why people are like, my kid could make that. My comeback's always, all right, let's see what your kid's got then. Show it to me. All right. And it truly, the reason that this artist is, in my opinion, so successful is because there is historic provenance. They've been doing this since 2014, before like cryptocurrency was even on most people's scale. They are this art form only exists in the digital art space. Like you cannot, obviously that somewhat looks like a cartoon, but it's a highly digital asset. It's a GIF, right? It's a glitchy GIF that if my dog keeps barking, I'm going to mute her. But it's a form that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's a highly crypto native type of art form. And it's really the fact that he's a historic person in the space. And that people like what they see from a crypto native artist in the space, and that he's been doing it the longest is kind of the biggest value add for him. Yeah. So
there's a follow-up question before you move on. It just says, as a follow-up question, you speak about exposure in the investment sense. Do you see this as a unique way of adding exposure to previously less accessible alternate asset classes?
I think that NFTs are a better way to migrate people towards cryptocurrency. It's not a Trojan horse. It's not to like trick people into it. It's literally, because I did mine cryptocurrency. We talked about that, and I didn't have any connection to the asset. I enjoyed being a part of a group of people that were trying to find a better solution than current financial systems, in my opinion, not financial advice. But it really was like, okay, I have these digits on my phone. Like, cool, I do that. That's fun. But like, what is that? This is technically still Ethereum. It's just been migrated to a different type of Ethereum token. And I do have a connection to my art pieces. It's culture, and we are inherently collectors by human nature. We appreciate beauty and rarity. Doesn't matter whether, everybody I think on this call can understand the power of having a diamond on your finger. It represents a very important part of existence, but at face value, it's still a rock, right? But it's a rock that collectively we've understood takes a lot of time and effort to make, that rock is very rare to find under those conditions, that because of that, it is a store of value. But again, like bare bones, like that's a rock. So when people look at different asset classes, I think that the message behind that diamond is completely different. And that's why that rock matters a lot more. The message behind the NFTs and the digital scarcity that is implied with them is kind of the same thing. You're storing your Ethereum in a different avenue. And that's why I think that I've been successful over the last year, is because I very much believe in Ethereum and Bitcoin, but I know culture, and I really understand how people collect and want to be a part of groups. And what you do with your cryptocurrency, I think is really the super interesting part of this. So yes.
So Donna has a follow-up question, and she says, the beauty of art, you can put on the wall, you can see it in different pieces, they tangible things. NFTs, they hidden on OpenSea in the computer.
Sure. Fair question. My next question though is, and I know that we might have varying degrees of generations and technological preference here. Ask anybody under the age of 25, do they look at their phone more, or do they look at their walls more? So I fully understand people want to hold on to something, but when we get to some of the later parts, the holding on to it, in some cases, especially in terms of overhead and again, the diffusion of the art and the dissemination of the pieces is a huge hindrance. And this tends to alleviate that. And so I understand why people want to traditionally hold something. What you are seeing is people that really love their pieces of art. So that Fermergence piece that I showed you, I know somebody that got that laser sketched onto a piece of steel, and it's hanging in their house. Like I know people that have gotten a digital piece of art made into a traditional piece of art because they love it that much and they want it there. I also know that I myself have a digital frame coming from my desk that will just cycle through all of my pieces that I have on OpenSea to see them, because of course they can get lost just like a bunch of emails can get lost. But I guarantee you show people things on your phone more than you show them things in the real world. You're not like, hey, come here and see this. You send it to them. You're like, hey, watch this. right? Or it's a link, or it's a video. I think that the way that the world's going, people are going to be looking at their screens a lot more than their walls, and their store of value then probably goes along with it.
Kathy has a question about, do you see a time in the near future when NFTs will be in art galleries, like audiobooks and Kindle books and libraries? Is that a thing at the moment?
So yes, but if your art galleries and museums are a business, the amount of overhead and security and just the chance of something potentially going wrong, right? You knock that vase over in a museum, it's gone forever, right? If you have a digital asset by a world-renowned artist that is stored, on site in terms of a wallet that's there, but is part of a collection being shown, that can be a simultaneous exhibit worldwide. Now, I know that that's different and that feels different because we want the events to be special and kind of isolated, but I look at that as a good thing long term, just to get more people to be exposed to different kind of art forms and to have different kind of exhibits be accessible to people that might not have been. How many people can go to New York and go to the Met? Right? Well, if all you need is the Met to have a wallet full of NFTs that then can be transmitted to a bunch of smaller venues, I think that's great for art. So the short answer is yes. The geographic diffusion, I think I mentioned this a little bit. The best way for me to kind of explain that is by showing an artist that I first found on a different blockchain. So this wasn't Ethereum. Again, another kind of digital GIF artist. It is a very abstract kind of art. Totally understand that. It might not be for everybody. These pieces are not selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're selling for thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. But this person, it came out of Brazil, and because of Twitter and Discord, which I'll explain in a little bit, people just like what they saw, and they were very, very easily able to get it then. And it didn't take long. It just was transferable. So when people liked it and they had the money to buy it, they just started buying it. And so this isn't all his. This is more his style. And so, again, I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but the big part that I wanted to explain there is how that artist was found, was dissemination of information across the internet. That artist was found in Brazil. This artist had never actually sold their art on a large scale. And now, even though this person has a smaller following, they are absolutely making a livable wage off of selling their NFTs. I think if you look at, let's just look at, so again, like it's like that's, let's just see what we got for sales. So you're looking at sales from that artist, again, a verified artist, to show you that the provenance has been confirmed by this marketplace, that these are this person's pieces. And this person did take a little bit of time away, but you can see we're talking about 200, 150, 300, like this, like 500, this amount of money coming into somebody that isn't American, like isn't necessarily US based, it could potentially be life-changing. And these are potentially American buyers or worldwide buyers that otherwise never would have been able to buy that person's art. So just to kind of explain the geographic diffusion and how this space is opening doors for anybody that is good at what they do. Like I think that's the part that I love the most about this, is that there's great artists everywhere. And that's not a knock to say that everybody can do it. That's a knock to say that like it's been highly undervalued, period, end of story. And so now that people can get it a lot quicker, and it's not, it's a lot easier to transact and collect and show. I think that there's a lot of potential benefit to that. So the community and the connection piece is something that I think is important when you're looking at why this isn't just about money, no matter what anybody says. There is this, and I showed this example this is one of the first conversations that I had with this group. And this is the Underground Sistine Chapel. So this actually is in a underground warehouse, and that is a physical art piece. Now, that would be great to visit. Of course, I would want to, right? I would pay money to go see that in person. But that person, that artist, can never actually, and his name's Pascal Borat. He's a well-known street artist, but he could never actually sell that piece until NFTs came around, because what he ended up doing was, obviously it's him on the scaffold painting it piece by piece. He actually went ahead and took obviously a digital photograph of every intricate part of this entire mural, then digitize that. So each token has its own identifiers, right? This is, and then what he did is he made that into its own NFT collection. Okay, so now there's 404, which is like, anybody seen it like a 404 error on their computer before, like the website's dead? Like there's a lot of like internet kind of culture there. So that's why that's 404. But again, a well-known artist taking a medium that never could have been sold before, selling it on the Ethereum blockchain. And to Ethereum right now is what?
$6,000.
Yeah, $6,000, right? And so you can actually look at and see when the last time these were sold were. That's $6,000. $6,000 2 days ago or 8 days ago. And here's the thing that I also, in terms of art and artists, want to tell people is this collection has a underlying smart contract to it. And so every time one of these sells, so like you can see it, I won't go all the way back, but the first time these were sold, it was from the artist. So it was from Pascal to somebody. These are all from somebody that's not him to somebody else that wants to buy it now. In the traditional art world, every last one of the secondary sales, so not the initial one, is only profit for the secondary seller. The smart contract, because this is on a blockchain and trackable, and because it's verified again, it's verified that this is his collection, that smart contract has a mechanism in it. So every single time one of these gets sold again, his Ethereum wallet is going to get a percentage of that sale. So this is where like you might see the other artist from Brazil selling his for like $200. And you're like, well, that's great, but like it is only $200, until potentially he blows up 3 years from now and there's $100,000 sales. And now that 2% off of his $500 secondary sale is now an astronomical amount of money. And it's still just recognizing how good his art was, right? Xcopy, the first person that I kind of showed you, like he had a great tweet one time where it was the secondary sale commission was more than he made in and again, his stuff selling for millions of dollars. So I understand not everybody's going to be able to get to that level, but the secondary sales commission on his piece. So he didn't have anything to do with it. It's just a piece he made 7 years ago that resold for a lot of money. But that secondary sales commission that was piped in automatically was worth more than he made in a year in like 2021, which again, like that's just kind of showing you how like the whole thing's kind of flipped.
Ryan, there's
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll bring over this page and this one. And I showed you that one artist X copy is one of the better known people in the space. And let's see. And oh, this is an X copy bot. So this is perfect. First, because this is at light speed, these artists are, and I mean this respectfully, they're living. Like they're actually still creating art, but they also have art that's years, decades old. This is that artist. And because of the internet, because of Twitter, because of Discord, which I'm going to show you in a second, like I've never met this artist. I've bought much cheaper parts of his collection. But we actually follow each other on Twitter, which means if I needed to send him a message, right, like I could and he would get it. So that's just to kind of show you that there's a connection value within this space that can be made that I never would have. I would have had to fly to even maybe figure out where he lives, right? But the other thing that helps with this isn't just, Twitter and talking to strangers on the internet. It's this idea of Discord community. So this is X Copy's Discord community, which is, if you really needed to kind of boil it down, it's like a big chat room specifically for one person or one project. So if you are, let's see, if you are a owner of his pieces, you can become a part of this community. Again, that's because it's tied to the blockchain. So basically, if I clicked this right now, it would prompt a check. It's the simplest way to say it, that will look at my Ethereum wallet and validate that I have X copy pieces in my wallet, and then open up these other chat rooms where like I think I saw it today, like this is him, like as of 9:30 a.m. US time, talking like in that group chat. So he's actually participating in his own community, giving updates, allowing people to know like if there isn't a exhibit that he'll be at, that is going to be posted somewhere else. There are raffles for the chance to either purchase or just outright get another piece of his. And so the way in which you can mobilize your community is exponential in the NFT space, because again, everything's trackable. Like I can't get into these and talk to this person unless I actually buy their artwork. If I buy 5 pieces of their artwork, I might open up another chat window where I get to give like suggestion, not that he needs to take any, but I get to be part of the participatory aspect of their living, breathing art. I'll show you this is like the Emergence project that it was the first movable GIF that I showed you for the Provenance piece. And this artist is actually somebody that I work for in a sense. And because of that, we've had, like, this is that person, like we've had conversations around how do we craft the next project? Like, what can we do that's going to make people interested? And so it's a highly organic and highly teamwork is the best way to explain it. Like, again, it's a community. So
yeah, that's a very interesting actual aspect to value adding to NFTs and tokens in general is, if I even to the, as a doing with sports team representations and tokens and things, is that it's actually in your social best interest to progress the notoriety and the good reputation of the community to progress the value of that exchange, isn't it?
Right. And I think that's the big difference if you hear people talking about like Web 2 versus Web 3. So Web 2, kindly, we'll think about like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like they convinced you to spend hours of your time liking things on their platform just to give you ads to buy more stuff. That was your reward. Like you liked what you saw, people gave their content up for people to view, maybe get a couple followers, but ended up just getting ads thrown in their face. Web 3 is people are going to spend the same amount of time, they're going to participate the same amount, but it's a communal, like everybody can win type democracy. Like if you're in this Discord a lot and chatting, when he does these giveaways and you get one, like this happened. I remember the 2 days that I was sitting at my table waiting for these raffles because I'm in this community, and he basically just gave away the right to, let's see if I can now, the right to mint that's an NFT of his. And those were selling for 5 Ethereum minimum, because there was only like 666 of them. And because it was the first time that he made a profile picture project. So just the value add for people that are early and early believers and supporters at scale. And it's just so much simpler to kick back either another opportunity or an access to something that other people can't get, because it's all trackable on the blockchain. So it's gated, but it's gated in a good way.
Simon has an interesting and witty question. He says, what happens if you die? What happens to your ETH or your NFTs? Do they go to the ETH?
So great question. So my running joke is Web3 takes no prisoners. So look at that. So basically what this all ties back to is access to your specific individualized wallet. That wallet is a string of numbers. So this string of numbers right here, which is much longer, that's why there's 3 dots in the middle, that is technically my Ethereum wallet that I can share with anybody. That's what I give to people if they need to send me something. That's what I enter into raffles if they're going to pick people to win, because that's how stuff's sent to me. There's something called a seed phrase. What that is it's 12 or more words that are randomly populated that basically allow you access to your wallet anywhere. This is a very, very important part of the process. And I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time in terms of the onboarding. If anybody's really interested in like how to get started and make a MetaMask and fund it from Coinbase or Binance, like we can talk about that because it is important. But the bottom line is, if you hear about somebody, quote unquote, getting hacked or all of their stuff getting stolen, they most likely 99% of the time were socially engineered to compromise their seed phrase, because your address is just like your address in your mailbox. Your seed phrase is basically your key fob to your house. And so people in any space, but specifically one that has it moves very quickly. So because of that, there's a lot of benefit, but because of that, there's the potential for things to be taken from you instantly, and they're gone because there's no safety net here. There's no customer service number. This is the decentralized web. But because of that, Amazon's not stealing your data, right? Because of that, Apple's not upcharging you for something that you didn't sign up for because their plan changed. Like you have a say in how that goes in Web3. So the answer to the question about if you pass away, my seed phrases are on metal tablets that can't be burnt, right? That can't be destroyed. They have a actual like key lock on them. The seed phrases are in a sense, your key to everything. And so I would want mine in like a safety vault, right? Like a fireproof vault. And then somebody needs to know where it's at, right? So somebody needs to know how to get access to that, and then potentially what to do with it. Because if you do, unfortunately, pass away and no one knows how to access that seed phrase or access your wallet, those things are locked and they will not be able to be unlocked by anybody. But that's the point. That's because if somebody was like if somebody was like, hey, like, we know you're worth 10 figures of NFT value. Like, we need it now. Like, and I can't give it to you. Like, I legitimately cannot hand it over. There's nothing I could do unless I have access to it and can sign off on it. Now, where this ties into the geopolitical conversation that's been going around, Ukraine and Russia, right? They were doing different things in the financial system that were preventing people from getting money out of ATMs. The banks weren't allowing people to remove money. This is a completely custodial experience, in the sense that if in 20 minutes something happened where I needed to just ditch everything, like my entire house, all the computers, my cell phone, all of that, if I could get my seed phrase, get on a plane, get anywhere, get to a computer, input that seed phrase, I now have access to all of my funds and my art again. That's completely different than anything else, because there's supposed to be barriers in place so that you can't do that kind of thing on a world scale. Now, of course, that's can be utilized for not great stuff too.
I was going to say that sounds like it lends itself to serious nefarious activities.
But it also,
and how are the regulators going to look at that on a long term?
So, and that's more of a you question, David. But it all, I mean, I mean this. It also allowed people to literally survive fleeing Ukraine. Like, they didn't have any money and they were able to take their digital assets with them and then get to another country and connect over social media and say, hey, I don't have any cash. All I have is Ethereum and NFTs. Can somebody give me a hotel that will take Ethereum? Right? Like, that's crazy. But that's also exactly why this type of technology has been developed. Never wanted it to be a use case for it, but it completely proved it.